Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fabric Tech Talk Fridays. I'm your host, Patrick LeBlanc, and today I will tell you this is one of my most favorite, exciting, I don't know, features in Microsoft Fabric, Materialized Lake View, and we have Mike Carlo here to talk about us. Mike, before we get started, why don't you tell the people who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Mike Carlo. I'm an MVP since 2017, so I've been around the space for quite a while. I started at the beginning of Power BI, and now I've grown into Fabric. So I love all the Fabric experiences that we're getting nowadays. I'm a full developer. I own a company. We do consulting, and we also build applications, which you may have seen some of them in the Fabric workloads inside your Fabric environments. We built Power Designer, and there's more workloads that we're building from our company to you to help you work more effectively in Fabric as well. So happy to
Awesome.
be on the show today.
Awesome. So, Mike, I have been building out these materialized lake views, and materialized views, they're not a new thing. They're not a new thing, right? You and we've been doing this stuff back since decades, the 1900s, and we've been using materialized views in other technologies for a very long time, and now, right, we get to experience them in the lake, and so. Like I know how I use them, and I know why I like them. But tell me why are we talking about these materialized lake views today?
Yeah, think of what you do in like a data pipeline. There's a lot of common patterns you're going to use over and over again. I'm going to bring in data. I may be going from bronze into gold. I'll enrich things. I may want to kick some data out, keep some data in, merge some data together. These are common patterns we're doing over and over again. But I have to typically build a pipeline and orchestrate everything together. I do a lot of extra work, I would call it, to make sure that all the steps happen in the order in which I need them to. Well, what if there was a magical way that I could just kind of write some SQL, sprinkle a little fairy dust on there, and just have the system auto detect the dependencies of upstream tables and just populate them when new data arrives. So that's really what material views are doing for us here, and that's why I like using them. It simplifies my pipeline, and I can focus on what is the logic to build table A, and what transforms and or shaping do I need to do to get to table B, and just tell the system figure it out. And when new data shows up, make it happen.
So instead of me, I use SQL Server integration services many moons ago,
Oh
but
boy.
instead of our pipelines today. So
Yes.
instead of me using a tool like that to orchestrate it, so I'll have all my staging data that happens, then I have all my dimensions that load, then I
Yep.
have all my facts that load, and then I have to link and chain all that together and understand how it works. And if I introduce something new, I got to go modify it, and those
Yep.
iterations continue. So instead of doing that, these materialized lake views kind of magically do it for me.
Yeah. Think of it as like
Yeah.
an automatic data factory or an automatic pipeline that's already there, just working for you. So
Yeah.
I like this ability for me to really be more descriptive,
Mhm.
declarative on my pipeline and just have it just work.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So tell me more. Tell me more about these materialized lake
So I
views.
have a couple slides. I promise I'm going to do just a little bit here, just kind of a high
Yeah.
level, just so we set some expectations here. So
Sure.
just very quickly, why do we want to use these materialized views, right? It's for performance, right? Things happen very quickly. I don't have to monitor things. I'm not writing another pipeline. I'm not building another artifact inside my Fabric workspace. It's just kind of handled. It
Yeah.
becomes more consistent how I write my code. It's all in the same place. It becomes more efficient for me. So I'm not monitoring things or trying to run pipelines and scheduling things when they need to happen. If I load tables into bronze, immediately something happens right behind it, right? It automatically does the next step for me when
Yeah.
it has enough information to do the next refresh for me. And then I think it just makes it things simpler. I mean, I'm of the opinion of less is more. If I can have less things to manage, it makes it easier for me, and I'm already comfortable writing SQL. Patrick, you love SQL, so we're all on board on the SQL space.
So you don't have to learn a new language. I mean, it is Spark SQL, so there's some nuances there compared
Correct.
to T SQL or the version of SQL that you're probably used to. But I don't have to go out and learn Python. It's
No.
just SQL. It's just structured query language, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And I'd
great.
argue the jump between SQL and Spark SQL, not that
Hmm.
bad. And you've
No.
got wonderful co-pilots all around to support you if you need a little bit of help getting over the hump on a SQL statement that you can't quite get through. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really, to be honest, I use that heavily. It's a secret sauce there as well.
I
So,
love it.
when should we use them and kind of how do they work, right? So, you're going to create them using SQL defined language, and you'll see in my notebook. I'll bring that up here in a second. We'll see some
Hmm.
SQL statements that I'm writing. This is right from the documentation. The refreshing, you have options here. You can have it an automatic refresh, or you can schedule it if you want to. So if you want to always check for new data, you can just have it automatically do that. If you want to not do that and slow down the CU usage a little bit, you can schedule it once a week, once a day. What is the velocity of your data? You can set that up inside these materialized views, which is great. And then once you have it set up, you can monitor the performance. Did something fail? Was something kicked out? That's another area that just kind of is taken care of for you by using these materialized views. When do you use it? Use it when you want to have aggregations, maybe complex joins, quality rules. And when we use lake houses and SQL and Spark, or PySpark, I guess would be more
Mhm.
appropriate, we find there's a different pattern here. We want to make the data tables materialize, push them down to the lakehouse somewhere. In SQL, I would maybe just run a view and run the compute to get the view, run that compute, and then the view returns itself. But in the Spark world and in the um, you know storage and compute being separated, I really want to optimize for storing more data in the storage layer because it's so incredibly cheap to store information. I don't want to continually recompute it every time I use the view. And so that's what
Especially
materialized views are doing. Sorry, Patrick. Go ahead.
especially if nothing's changed. Especially if
Yeah,
nothing's changed, why do I need to recompute this and do this again? I just get what I need. No, I love it. It's great.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
why we want to use this. That's really the value of this. It's a really great efficiency optimization there as well.
Yep.
And with that, I have the actual documentation. We're going to follow some of the queries that are written in the actual documentation. You can go
Uh,
find that over here on the actual documentation site. You'll look for overview of materialized lake views. This is what we'll be following today.
mhm.
And with that, we'll scoot right over to my desktop.
So enough of all this talking. Enough of all this talking, Mike. Let's head over to your machine.
Let's let's go to the machine. All right.
Yeah.
So over here in my let's quickly look at the lake house itself. I've already created these materialized views so you can kind of see how they work. So let's just
Mhm.
look at some of the tables in my lake house. So if I click over to my lake house, I'm going to go over here to back under my tables area. And you'll notice here I have a sales table on the left hand side. And
Mhm.
then in here, I have a number of tables, the orders table, and I have some view for my daily sales. If I refresh this view here, it should give me a couple more tables that I've already made. You can
Mhm.
see I've made view. Now, Patrick, you'll be happy here. I added the word view in the front just for our SQL developers in the world
Yeah.
that love to put view on top of things, so you know what their views.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I did that to make everyone happy here. But in our orders table, we can see we just have a series of orders. We have some dates, we have some regions and customers, and some product IDs. This is all kind of
Mhm.
contained in my table. So what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to show you how to create these views that I have down below here, and we'll do that in the notebook. So I'm going to go over to a notebook, a Python notebook here into my materialized views. And then this is our first statement. This is coming directly from the documentation. And I've added a little bit of difference here. You'll notice here I've made a schema inside my lakehouse, which is called sales.
Yep.
And then from the sales, I'm defining the name of the table here. And then I'm basically just writing straight SQL. This is just my SQL statement of what I'm going to select and how I'm going to add that data to this new view. You'll notice here I'm doing a little bit of grouping. So if I erase that, I'm doing a little bit of grouping here, and I'm counting how many orders maybe occurred on that particular day and grouping there.
Nice.
So
Nice.
this is something we're going to do a lot. This is going to make my semantic model potentially more efficient because I don't need maybe all the details in a particular table. Maybe I'm using aggregations in my semantic model, and I need to just have this auto-generated every time I load data in, right? I might have details, I might have aggregations. If we get to really large table sizes, it's helpful to start reducing the granularity of your data. This is an opportunity to do some of that.
Yep.
So you'll see here, I create that. There's a little data frame that's made down below that shows me my information. So let's go back over to the lakehouse view, and I'll show you the table that we just made here, and it's called View Daily Sales is the name of our table. So I'll go back to my sales lake. We'll go over to view for daily sales. And if I click on the table here, it will then query the data directly at the lake level and will then show me this is the table that is automatically made.
Wow. Wow. And I noticed the little icon. If you go over to the Explorer and you'll see
Mhm.
that little icon that kind of lets me know that little lightning bolt. It looks more like a lightning bolt than a delta, right? Than a triangle. It's
Correct.
let me know, hey, these are materialized lake views. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Hmm.
And then if you want to go see the relationships between these tables, there's actually another button here on the homepage. I'll zoom in here so you can see it. Manage Materials Lake Views Preview. You
Yeah.
click on this one. This will then take you into the lake house view. And there's my sales orders table. And here's the table that I just made called View Daily Sales. And
Mm.
as I add new information, if I made more data in the sales order table, the other tables would downstream trickle through and then show you the details of that information in my tables here.
Nice, nice.
Let me refresh my view as well. I believe I made another view here recently.
Oh, yeah, there
So
you go.
I added a second one just recently before the call here today, and I wanted to make sure that I had two tables referencing that original source table. So for this example here, I'm just doing an aggregation on daily sales. I may also want to aggregate strategic sales. Maybe I have two or three customers that I want to know their daily sales specifically for a grouping or whatever. The
Mhm.
business is going to ask for weird things. I got to be able to be creative and build stuff for them, but I don't want to maintain the pipeline. I just want the data to show up. So that's what we're doing here.
So what was interesting is you created that view, that additional view that
Yes.
references the sales.orders table, but and you didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to tell Fabric anything. You didn't have to
Yep.
do anything, drag anything, drop anything,
Nope.
establish a relationship, establish a dependency. It automatically did it for you.
Auto magically
It
does it for me. Yes.
automatically did it for you. It automatically did it for you. Yeah, no, it's great.
So here's another example of a table that I've built here. So I made a view. Now this view, you'll notice here, this is for my large sales
Uh,
data. And notice how it's pulling from my prior materialized view. So I have a view of a view now, and I'm just downstreaming, chaining more things together here. Again, it doesn't matter how many pieces you have in the puzzle. Again, it's building the lineage for me automatically in the view on the lake house. So I can just keep adding more things on here,
yeah.
and it just builds them. And again, all I worry about is getting data to that first table in the chain, and all of the dependencies. If there are multiple tables, the dependencies will work themselves out.
Wow. Okay. So I, I don't know if I'm going out of line if you're going to talk about this in your demo, but I have a question. So
Sure.
I said this earlier. ETL. I've been doing ETL for a long, long time, Mike. And a part of my ETL, a critical part of my ETL is data cleansing and data validation and things like that, because I want to
Yes.
make sure that I have a sales number. I want to make sure I have a surrogate key. I want to make sure I have valid email addresses. I want to make sure, before that data gets into that goal layer or to that star schema.
Yes.
Do I still need to do that with these materialized lake views?
That's a great question. So this is what we call constraints on the tables.
Ah.
So like, it's like we were talking about this beforehand. You'll
Mhm.
notice here I have another table hidden down here below. I have some raw customer data. And then I want to
Oh,
clean maybe my customers table. So again,
sure.
going back to the example that's here on the documentation describes what if the customer name is blank in a table? I don't want to actually resolve that data into the table downstream. So the business logic here is I have a table of customers. Some of the data may be missing. Again, to your
Mhm.
point, it could be missing sales number, it could be missing keys, it could be missing information that would potentially break my downstream tables in the semantic model. We love to have all of our keys covered and not have any blank keys showing up.
Yep.
So what we can do is we can protect that with a constraint. So let's go back to my materialized views, and I'll just scroll down here a little bit more. I will show you a sample of my data table here. This is the selected data in my customers table.
Mhm.
I've already selected the information, and notice here there are two empty records, something that's missing.
Mm,
So we
mm.
got a problem here. So what we could do is we can now create our materialized view, and we add this constraint right here. We jump in. Is this a valid email? We want to check that the email is not null. And if it is a mismatch, we want to drop the record.
So it
So
never makes it. It just never makes it into the table. Nice.
never makes in the
Yeah.
table. And so now what we can do is if I quickly grab my selection statement here, I'm going to go down and I will turn on my notebook. Looks like it just timed out. Let me just drop in a new code cell. We'll drop in our SQL code here. And instead of selecting from raw customers, we will now select from our clean customers table. So let me put that back in here like this, because we've just cleaned our data, and hopefully all things being done correctly and working out right. We should be able to run this cell. It'll go select the data for us, and it'll then show us a new list of customers where that data is no longer in place inside that list.
So,
Hopefully, I got
it's,
it in there somewhere.
it's all right. So right, we know it'll run and it'll work. And so let me ask you a question. So with that view being, I don't think it's in the schema, maybe in DBL. Um,
You're right. Correct.
Yep. And so once that view is created and the data is dropped, is there a way for me to know if is this process, is it losing data? Because I may automate this and have it part of a bigger orchestration, but I need to go and monitor and maintain and say, oh, I lost some data last night. Now I need to go look upstream. I need to look at my processes to figure out why I'm losing data.
Great. We'll come back over to the lakehouse again. Over here at the
Okay.
lakehouse level, we'll be
Hmm.
able to see there actually is a report that's over here inside the lakehouse
Ah,
view. And you're able to click into the data quality report directly, and you can generate
okay.
report right on top of this. And this will then generate your report of any data quality or constraint or issues that are being showing up inside your system. So this will assist you on the quality side of things. So you can have constraints, you can set them up, and then this will then generate reports for you on top of any data quality issues around constraints that you may
Wow.
have problems with.
Wow. They've thought of everything here. They've thought of everything. Anything else you want to share with us, Mike?
That's it. That's basically the gist here. I love this view. I think this is super snazzy. I like the fact that it's all here laid out for me. I can focus on what tables do I build, focus on loading data to my tables at the beginning of the pipeline, and just let things take care of themselves. It figures
That's
it
it.
out. It does all the details for me, and then I don't have to worry all about the details there. It just happens and works out well. So it's a very
Wow.
cool system. I like it. You should definitely check this out in your data pipelines. If you're doing regular aggregations, if you're going from bronze to gold, these are great opportunities for you to use materialized views on top of the lakehouse.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to come talk to us about these materialized views. If you have any questions, comments about these materialized views for Mike or I, you know what to do. Post them in the comments below. If this is your first time visiting the Fabric YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And as always, from Mike, Microsoft, and this guy, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Friday.
Thank you everyone for watching. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to hit that like button.
If this is your first time visiting the Microsoft Fabric YouTube channel, be sure to smash that subscribe button.
Drop a comment below on what you would like to see on the future episodes of Fabric Tech Talk Fridays.
That's it for today. See you all next Friday for another deep dive in the Microsoft Fabric.